Today, there is so much talk about personal branding. And I think that is good because there is no time that I've seen where personal branding is so important. You will find classes, you will find experts, you will find podcasts and videos and books written about personal branding. And I have to say, I have a love-hate relationship with personal branding. Personal branding is something that I've taught for a number of years, but I believe the way many people think about personal branding today is counterproductive to their objectives. I think that personal branding is misunderstood, and I think personal branding, in the way most people go about it, can lead to disappointment, frustration, and can lead to confusion. My focus on personal branding in particular is aimed at helping individuals and companies understand how to align with excellence. And in this video, that's what I want to talk with you about. How to develop a personal brand of excellence and some of the things you should understand in that process. My name is Andre Taylor, and on this channel, I discuss luxury, premier living, and prosperity. Now, personal branding is key in all of those areas, particularly if you're a professional, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're growing a business, because personal branding has become crucial to individuals who want to grow in those areas. And I believe that personal branding is also a reflection of many other factors. I believe, as I mentioned in the opening, that personal branding is not something that is fully understood by some. And the way many go about personal branding leaves out some key aspects that are so important. Personal branding is exciting. Personal branding can enormously benefit you today. If we just take, for example, social media, everyone likes to get to know individuals personally, understand what they're about, understand their messaging. They're excited when they see people they're familiar with. So this idea of personality and connecting with one's individual brand is very important. And so in this video, what I'm going to do is talk about the components that I believe are most important and are often misunderstood and left out when it comes to personal branding. Now, first, I want to talk about my love-hate relationship with personal branding. Because, as I mentioned, I've been teaching personal branding for a long time. In fact, I used to do a whole weekend where I would bring folks together and we would talk about personal branding. And I may just bring that program back because there are some nuances that I have learned, I have practiced, and I have seen play out over the years that I think can be very beneficial to someone like you. But my love-hate relationship with personal branding really comes down to the fact that it has become a technique. It has become a business school focus. It has become a digital marketing focus. And so you hear people all the time talking about my brand and what my brand represents. And it's talked about really as a maneuver. It's not talked about in the context of what an individual really stands for, what they care about, what they mean, what they're committed to. I don't think Picasso talked about building a personal brand. I don't think Muhammad Ali talked about building a personal brand. I don't think Michael Jackson talked about building a personal brand. I think that all of these individuals were committed to certain values and to certain ideals. They were even committed to excellence and rising to the top of their field and being known in a certain way. But it wasn't thought of as a business school item. You did not hear them say, well, here's my brand, and I am on brand, or this represents my brand. Today you see people who put up a website and they talk about their brand, or they talk about, here is what our brand represents. Now, of course, it is a brand, and it is something that is a way of defining who they are, the promise, the expectation, the product delivered, the reassurance, the commitment, all of those things are represented by a brand. But I believe it really begins not in thinking about yourself as a brand, but thinking about yourself in quite different ways. You see, when many people think about personal branding, they're thinking about fame and fortune, and they're thinking about followers, and that alone. They're not thinking about their own quest to achieve because it is a representation of their own ability and their own passion and purpose. They're not thinking about the skills and the nuances of being excellent that they will bring to their field. They're not thinking about the importance of standing in a certain way and living up to certain levels and certain values. Now, I'm not saying everyone looks at branding and excludes those things. I'm not suggesting that at all. In fact, I think many people think of those things. But I believe that when it comes to understanding branding, that is where we have to begin. We have to begin in what really matters to you. Who are you? What values do you represent? What value do you bring to the world? As a company, what do you bring to the marketplace? And what are you looking to accomplish? What really is important to you? And I'm not just talking about fame and fortune, facts and figures. I'm talking about the heart of your brand. What's inside? For example, I know someone who, if you invite him to an event, if you invite him to your home, if he's going somewhere, you can count on him being early. In fact, some people even say, oh my God, this guy is an hour early as normal. It's just part of who this person is. If he's got to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, you can count on him being there at 8 o'clock. Wherever he is going to be there early. Now, he doesn't walk around and say, this is my brand. But in his mind, if he's on time, he is late. And if he is even 30 minutes early, he is late. He's thinking all the time that I've got to be there within this certain time frame. I've got to get up early and do this. I've got to make sure that I am never a person who is stumbling in late. I can remember when I was on Wall Street, I was in a training program, and it was a great training program for managers. And I have to tell you, I was late every day. And when we did the evaluation at the end of the program, and they were evaluating everyone, one of the managers said, Andre is mature beyond his years. His insights when it comes to business and management are tremendous, but he's got to work on being more timely. And you know what what happens in those scenarios is if you're late once or twice, that becomes your brand. That becomes who you are. So it's not only your values and what you're committed to, it's also what people observe. It's also things that you don't think are noticed and perhaps even meaningful. And I always had a good excuse, and as a mentor of mine said, there's nothing worse than a good excuse. I had a good excuse, but the fact of the matter is that I was late a lot, and something I've improved on a bit. But that's an example of how your behavior and your activities can precede you and determine the way people perceive you. So you have to really think about where your heart is. Now, I have to tell you that often when people who are more reflective and more analytical and more observant, they will see beyond the surface and they will see where your heart is. But I want you to think about where your heart is because that's essential to what we call personal branding. When Muhammad Ali said, "I am the greatest," I think there are a number of things that were happening there. I don't think it was just a slogan. I think he was reflecting on his abilities, on his commitment, and his determination as an athlete. I think he was focused on living up to a standard. And what many people forget is that Muhammad Ali, while he is revered today for so many qualities, he was not loved when he first burst upon the scene. Many people looked at him and said, "Look at this arrogant loudmouth." Many people said, "This guy is conceited." Many people were hoping that he would lose in the ring. And I think what often happens when it comes to a personal brand is the objective is so important to you that it goes way beyond the title. It goes, or the slogan. It goes way beyond the way people think of a brand today as something that they just say, something that is just a slogan, something that represents logos and colors and a certain look and maybe even a certain attitude. But it often comes from a deeper place, a deeper objective, an objective to be recognized, to be thought of as a man, to be respected, to transcend boundaries, also to be thought of as a woman, to be thought of as capable, to be thought of as strong. So it's not this empty statement or slogan. It is something that most people who rise to very high levels find inside and bring that outside, and they have to fulfill that objective. So what I'm saying is that when you think of personal branding, you must think of something outside of marketing and digital objectives. You must think about something beyond visibility and attention. And that's when you get to the core of who you are, what you represent, and why people will resonate with you and your message. I think that this idea of personal branding is part psychology, part self-reflection, part exploration, and part commitment. And there is a heavy dose of goal setting in there and focus, because these individuals who emerge and become so well known and respected and revered for what they do often have a goal that transcends these nice little statements that you see many people make. I'm going to touch this number of thousand businesses, or I'm going to do this for women, or I'm going to impact communities in this way. It sounds great, but the question is, how much of you does that objective really represent? Is this a B school exercise? Is this a marketing exercise? Is this a social media exercise? Or is this a reflection of you discovering your purpose, your passion, and what you are driven to accomplish here on earth? I think another way of looking at this is asking yourself, what need are you meeting? Now be careful here, because in most cases when we think of meeting a need, we're thinking of the client, we're thinking of the audience, we're thinking of the person who's going to buy from us, and we're thinking about how that relates to our business plan and our marketing plan. One of my favorite entrepreneurs in history, a revered entrepreneur, A.G. Gaston, who built a powerful group of businesses, successful businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses in the segregated South, used to say, find a need and fill it. That was his objective. And he talked about green power, meaning aligning with prosperity and making money, and the importance of understanding when you have green power, what you can accomplish. A.G. Gaston's green power enabled him to provide shelter and a meeting place for members of the civil rights movement when they were being threatened. And of course, that didn't stop those who were wanted to inflict damage on the leaders. I mean, they bombed the A.G. Gaston Hotel in Birmingham. But the point I'm making to you is that even though A.G. Gaston talked about a need, finding a need and filling it, I believe he was also speaking about an internal need, a need to transcend what was going on, a need that he had individually to rise in a certain level, to have financial power, financial independence, and to have that reflect positively on the members of his race and the people that he wanted to support and the objectives he wanted to support. So we're not only talking about the need externally, we're talking about the need internally. I was listening to an audiobook recently about Stevie Wonder, and he was talking about his albums and his legendary career. And one of the things that I heard in this audiobook that was fascinating was his commitment to his creativity and his commitment to humanity, his commitment to sending a message, his commitment to delivering music that reflected where he was at a spiritual level, at a human level, and a creative level. That is something that goes beyond how many records you sell, how many albums you sell. Now, I'm not saying he was not aware of the need to be financially successful. He was, or is. But his personal brand goes beyond the need to be commercially successful. So I ask you, what need are you meeting internally? What need are you meeting? And are you aligned with achieving that need, fulfilling that need? Now, I coach individuals on the need to reflect excellence in everything that they do. And we do that not only in markets where excellence is demanded, like luxury markets, not only where the client might demand excellence, such as in the financial markets where you're working with very affluent individuals or wealthy individuals. So the idea is, where is the excellence? And when you are focused on a personal brand of excellence, there is the challenge of the fact that excellence does not come immediately. You can say it, but being it and delivering it is another matter, because excellence is a reflection of self-discovery, experimentation, refinement, time, having other individuals involved. That commitment goes way beyond slogans. It goes way beyond the idea of attracting followers or viewers or people who give you attention today. And in fact, when you're focused on excellence, it means getting to a point where others would stop and deciding that you are going to continue. I saw an interview with a young artist. You may know who this artist is, who is very successful and has put out a number of albums and done really well. And he was sitting in a restaurant in London, and he realized that across from him was Sir Elton John. And the music legend called him over to say hello, and he sat down. And what Elton John said is, that song that I'm hearing on the radio that you've put out, it's not ready. It wasn't ready. And one of the things I love about Elton John is I've heard him say this in many instances. I've heard him talk about music that's written by multiple writers. He says that's not music. Yeah, it's a collaboration, but I'd like to hear something that came from someone inside and they did the whole thing, and it's a reflection of their own vision and creativity. So when it comes to excellence, keep in mind that it's a process, it's a commitment, and it involves time. Now, one thing you must do when it comes to excellence is accept that there will be times and periods where you won't be excellent, where you will be delivering something that later you will look at and say, that could have been much better. But it is part of your development and unfolding in your profession. Now, don't let that stop you. You certainly should work on something. You should give it time. And your goal should be to get it to a level where you feel at that moment it is excellent. And you can review it, you can reconsider it, you can refine it, and you can decide, okay, I'm going to make this available. But keep in mind, if you're truly committed to excellence, you are going to look back at that work and you're going to say, it could be better. And that is part of what greatness, excellence is about. So as you think about your personal brand and how important it is, think about the fact that it isn't just a slogan, it isn't just design or a logo, It isn't just about making a statement and having a catchy, pithy phrase about who you are. It's about really being committed to that person and that objective. It's also understanding that it may take you time to get there. In fact, most of the time, you're not there. However, that does not mean that you should not proceed, because part of becoming excellent is seeing the unfolding and development of who you are. And I believe that the people who admire you will admire you more as they see you develop and improve. Consider all these factors when it comes to personal excellence and personal branding, and I believe you will have a compelling, a strong, a powerful brand that others will want to align with. Now take a look at this video.